This story is about three friends who get tired of their lives and suddenly find themselves trapped in a new city where there is no one else. They need a visa to stay in this city, which they can only get by playing a deadly game, putting their lives at risk. If they refuse to play, they will be killed. Can they survive and escape this deadly world? Today we will see if they can. The story begins with Alice, a great gamer who has never lost a game. He is also knowledgeable about mathematics and cars. Alice lived with his dad and older brother. Despite knowing so much, Alice didn't have a job. His dad thought he was useless, which made Alice dislike his home. He often went out to meet his friends. Here, we see his friends. One worked in a bar, but got fired because he was having an affair with his boss's wife. The second friend, known as Chota, had a corporate job, and his mother took most of his earnings. All three friends seemed unhappy with their lives, but when they met, they shared their sorrows. One day, while smoking, they wished for a zombie apocalypse to start fresh. While messing around on the road, they caused an accident, and the police chased them. They hid in a building's bathroom, but suddenly, all the lights went out, and they couldn't hear anything. When they went outside, the city was deserted. There were no animals or people, not even any sounds. They found a building with "Delighted" written outside, and "Mary" written inside. As they went further, a laser gate activated, and many phones were placed there. When they picked up the phones, they unlocked, and the game rules appeared. A girl who had been in this world for a while threw a card at the gate, and it caught fire due to the laser. The girl explained that if anyone tried to leave without playing the game, they would die. Another college student joined them, and the game began. The first game was called Dead or Alive, at the level of 3 of clubs. In a room with 2 doors labeled Dead and Alive, they had to choose the right door to survive. Chota recorded everything on his phone, thinking it was a joke until the room started filling with gas. They had to quickly choose a door or the room would catch fire. The girl suggested opening the Alive door, and the college student opened it without thinking, dying immediately. The girl then opened the Dead door, and they survived. They realized they needed to take the game seriously because their lives were at stake. In the next room, there were 2 more doors. The girl told Alice he had to open the door this time, but he was scared. His friend, who worked in the bar, opened the door and luckily chose the right one. They entered another room with more doors, and Alice remembered seeing a map of the building showing 7 rooms. They needed to open the inner door to survive. Inside, they found another room with Alive written on it. Alice checked the recording of the college student opening the Alive door and noticed there was no door ahead. They opened the correct door just in time, but Chota hurt his foot. They found a 3 of clubs card, and their phones notified them they had earned a 3-day visa. Before moving on, let me explain the game's rules. The card suits are connected to the games. Spades mean physical activities, clubs mean team games, diamonds involve using your brain, and hearts mean betrayal. They didn't fully understand the visa until they saw a man get killed by a laser beam for an expired visa. To extend their visas, they had to keep playing these deadly games. They went to a house to rest because Chota's foot was injured, and they had 3 days. They noticed the radio was working while other electronics were not. The girl they met earlier told them she had been stuck for 3 days and survived 2 games. They wondered where everyone had gone. Alice decided to play another game that night to find a doctor for Chota. He left the girl with Chota and went to play with his friend. They found a building where the game was held, and other players, including a white-haired boy charging a device and a skilled mountain climber named Usagi. The game was called Tag at level 5 of Spades, meaning it involved physical activities. They had to find a room with a button to end the game within 20 minutes, or the building would explode. They split up to find the room. The white-haired boy stood on a building and waved, but a shooter with a horse mask appeared and started shooting at them. Alice realized the shooter could only see straight ahead because of the mask. Usagi climbed a pipe to check the doors. Alice met another player named Megan with a strange watch on her hand. A martial artist named Aguni asked his partner to distract the shooter so he could attack from behind, but he waited for the shooter's bullets to run out and got his partner killed instead. Aguni was odd. He then released gas to kill the shooter, but Alice found a door with bullet marks. The white-haired boy joined him, and they faced another shooter. The white-haired boy used his device to stun the shooter, but the shooter attacked again. Alice reached a room with 2 buttons that needed to be pressed simultaneously. He called for help, and Usagi came. She used the white-haired boy's device to stun the shooter again, and they jumped to press the buttons just in time. They completed the task with 1 second left. The shooter removed the mask, revealing a woman who was also a player, tasked to kill everyone. She had a collar that exploded, killing her. Alice and his friend talked on a walkie-talkie. Realizing they needed to find a beach, the white-haired boy found a paper with lines on it and kept it. At home, Alice's friend from the bar explained a message he heard on the walkie-talkie. The girl with Chota needed to play another game because their visas were expiring. The game was called Hide and Seek, where they had to find each other while wearing headsets and collars like the woman had. This game's level was 7 of Hearts, meaning betrayal. One person would be the wolf, hiding from others, and whoever identified the wolf would become the new wolf. After 15 minutes, only the wolf would survive. Chota panicked, trying to remove his collar. Alice warned him not to, or he would die. Alice and Chota make eye contact. They were staring at each other very intently. Here, Alice becomes the wolf. Now they understood that to become the wolf, they had to look into each other's eyes. When the girl becomes the wolf, she goes and hides in a garden book. She wanted to stay hidden for 15 minutes so that no one would find her, and she could survive the game. But Alice's friend finds her. They started fighting a lot there. Alice also came there, trying to separate them, but he becomes the wolf. These two then surround and start attacking him, but the younger friend comes and tells Alice to run away. All 3 of them were reminiscing about their old memories of how they used to have a good time together. They used to live with love, but now because of this game, they had become enemies. Paris was remembering everything and crying. He looks for his friends, calls out to them, but no one responds because they all wanted Alice to continue playing the game. In the last 10 seconds, Alice finds his friend, who says, "Thank you." And in front of Alice's eyes, his friend's tag explodes, killing him. All 3 of Alice's friends' necks were blown off. He cries a lot over the death of his friends. The next day, when Usagi was looking for food, she saw Alice lying on the road. She picked him up and brought him home. Usagi liked to live alone in her house. When Alice wakes up, she tells him, "You helped me in the game, so I'm helping you." She tells him that her dad was a very good mountain climber. He loved climbing mountains, but when he died, the media spread false news that he committed suicide. By telling this, she meant that one day we will all lose our loved ones, but it doesn't mean we should die with them. Death will come when our time is up, so until we are alive, we have to fight. She was trying to encourage Alice. After hearing her words, Alice gets up and decides to find the head of this game and avenge his friends' deaths. But now their visa was also about to expire. So at night they go to the game area, a tunnel, where they meet 3 players who had already won 3 games and had become good friends. One player had an injured leg and couldn't walk properly. The game was called Heart Distance, a level 4 of club, which meant it was a team game and they had to play it together. They had to reach their destination within 2 hours, or you know what would happen to them. Their phones had indicators showing the distance they needed to cover. They try to start the bus, but it doesn't work, so they all start running to cover the distance. They had to reach the other side of the tunnel, which was a long way. The player with the injured leg couldn't run, so he tells his friends to go ahead. They didn't want to leave him, but they had no choice. They leave him, and start running. After covering 6 miles, a black panther appears and eats one of the 3 players they met on the bus. While the panther was eating him, the remaining 3 take the chance and run ahead. While running, Alice sees a bike. The bike had fuel, but its battery was dead. So, they decide to take the fuel and go back to the bus to save the player with the injured leg. Meanwhile, Usagi and 1 player reach the end of the tunnel, but there were water barriers with a lot of water. Once the game ends, the water would flood the tunnel, killing everyone. Water starts entering the tunnel. The player with Usagi tries to save her. Alice brings the bus and extends his hand to Usagi, bringing her onto the bus. But the bus gets flooded, and when the water recedes, they stand on top of the bus. They see a sign on the bus, which worries Alice. He realizes that they were always in the goal from the beginning, as the indicator on the phone showed 0 distance. The 3 of them win the game. Afterwards, Alice and Usagi are standing under a bridge, talking. Alice tells her about a beach, saying they need to find the head of the game. Who knows, maybe people are there. They keep searching for the head for a few days. During this time, Usagi teaches Alice hunting techniques. They become good friends. One day, they see a group of players with the same strange watch on their hands that they had seen on Agony's hand and his companions. They realize that those wearing the watch are part of a special group that survives the game and escapes in a vehicle. They follow the vehicle to a place where they find a hotel. They wonder how the entire city has no electricity, but this hotel does. Suddenly, someone knocks them out and takes them along. When they regain consciousness, there are some people in front of them. A man called Heater says he is the king here and knows the way back to the real world. All the cards of Dash are here. He tells them that everyone here is his special person who wins the game and collects the cards for him. If anyone collects all the cards, only 1 person can go back to the real world. He tells them that they have to play another game. If they win, they have to hand over the 80 cards to him. If not, they know what will happen. Alice and Usagi have no choice but to agree. At night, when they go to play the game, they see Agony and the white-haired boy too. In this game, they had to kill 4 wild animals: a bear, a tiger, a panther, and a lion. Agony's team had weapons, so they easily kill the animals. Meanwhile, Alice's team is given a task to find a number in a dark building with only 9 bullets left. Usagi finds the number. The real game was with Alice. Alice was being tested by a surgeon from Heater's group to see if he was capable enough to join Heater's team. They were playing a game called Light Bulb. All players were made to stand under electric transformers, and the tunnel was filling with water. The game's level was 4 of diamond, which means they had to guess. There was a bulb in front of them and 300 switches. They had to find out which switch would light the bulb. The real challenge was that the door with the bulb would close, and they wouldn't know if the bulb was on or not. One girl checked the wires and was electrocuted, but Alice uses his brain and completes the task. Alice had to guess the switch to light the bulb, and the surgeon knew the answer but didn't tell Alice. Alice completes the task and returns to the hotel. Alice is presented before Heater as he is now part of Heater's team. That day, Heater's visa was also expiring, so he tells everyone that he will play the game that night. He signals his companions, indicating that something might happen that night. The next morning, after Heater leaves, Alice and Usagi ask everyone what happens when they go to the real world. Some say they might get stuck in another game, some say they'll go to another dimension. No one had a clear answer. Alice hears gunshots and sees Agony's men putting many bodies in a dumpster. The white-haired boy tells them that these are the bodies of those who didn't follow the hotel's rules and that he has a plan to escape. He says they need to steal all of Heater's cards as they can't trust him to send them to the real world. When he is called to the meeting, he finds out there that Heater has died. No one tells him that Heater was killed in the game. This means Heater was also murdered. After Heater's death, Agony declares himself the king there. When all the players find out that Agony is now their new king and Heater is dead, they all get very worried. During this, the boy with white hair sends Alice to Agony's room to steal all the cards from his safe. Alice is given a password, but it is wrong, and the sirens go off. The boy with white hair had given the correct password, but Alice went to the wrong safe. Agony's men catch and beat him. The white-haired boy was staring at a painting with amazement. He understood how many secrets were behind this painting. Meanwhile, Alice got caught by them, and his visa was about to expire tonight. On the other hand, the boy with white hair reached the painting and, after stealing all the cards, started to leave the hotel with his friend. His friend felt bad about Alice. As they were about to leave, they saw that there was a laser on the hotel. This meant that tonight's media was focused on their hotel, and everyone in the hotel had become players. Suddenly, an announcement was made in the hotel, and everyone gathered in one place where they saw a girl who had been beaten and killed with a knife. They all received a message on their phones saying they had to find the killer. The game was called That Night, and they had 2 hours to find the killer and throw him out of the hotel. Only then would the game end. Everyone was trying to burn the murdered girl's friend alive because they thought the real killer was her friend, since she was always with her. But the surgeon girl arrived and stopped everyone. Now Agony had also arrived. He ordered his men to kill everyone because the killer was among them. If the killer was killed, the game would end itself. Due to this, there was chaos in the hotel. The surgeon girl found the clue on the dead girl's body and checked the signs on it. The boy with white hair met Agony's man and said that someone among us had leaked all the information to the game master. Hearing this, the man got very angry. He was about to shoot the boy, but then the boy set him on fire with a flare gun. The surgeon had also figured out who the real killer was, but before she could tell everyone, some people came and knocked her out. Agony gathered everyone. Alice said, "You are the real killer." Agony replied, "Yes, I killed that girl." But no one had the courage to shoot Agony. Alice said, "No, you did not kill that girl. You killed Heater." Agony had killed Heater because the Heater's mind had deteriorated living among them, and he was ready to do anything for the game. But Agony never wanted to lose him, so now he felt that everyone was responsible for Heater's death. That is why he had started a massacre in the hotel. Agony said that the game master was still playing the game with them to trap them here. The surgeon girl came to prove that the girl had killed herself. The dead girl's friend then admitted she was the dealer who had met the game master. Then, a laser beam appeared and mercilessly killed her. At that moment, one of Agony's men started shooting at everyone, but Agony grabbed him and jumped into the fire, saving everyone else. Then, the rest of the people burned the dead girl's body. The game ended here. The hotel was on fire. Everyone watched the burning hotel as they walked away. Now we see the white-haired boy had the card. He needed only the final card to leave. The next day, Alice saw a video of the dead girl, in which she explained that she was the game dealer and knew the end of every game. They were asked to make a game interesting, and the day they revealed they were the game dealers, both of them would be killed. In the video, they also see train station. When they went there, they saw many dead bodies. The boy with white hair was also there and showed them the same paper he found in the pocket of a markswoman. It was actually a map to come here. Before they could understand anything, all the lights went out. On a computer screen, we see a lady from Heater's group who worked for the game master. She congratulated them on collecting all the cards and told them they had reached the next round. If they passed it, they would get the final card. As they came out of the building, they saw a banner that read King's Card, and it was being displayed all over the city. And with that, the season ends. So, which game did you like the most? Do let us know in the comments section.